Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Fred. I'm an artist from Montreal, Canada. I like making enamel pins, stickers, and lots of cute merch inspired by my illustrations. I wanted to make a special video because this year marks the 5th year that I started my business. So I wanted to talk about what I tried, what worked for me, the mistakes that I made, and reflect a little bit on my achievements. And maybe if you don't know me, that's a nice introduction to what I do. Okay, so first, how I started my business. So if we start on how/why I started my business, ever since I was a kid, I always loved doing art and little crafts. I even wanted to open a craft store, but not like a craft supply store, a craft store with all of my little kid crafts. Like my handmade Christmas decoration made with craft paper. I'm not sure that would have worked out for me, but still, ever since I was a kid, I always entertained that idea. In high school, I always chose art as the optional course, and in college, I studied in film studies and later on in graphic design. So really, all my life, I gravitated towards art. But the thing that actually made me realize that I wanted to make illustrations and make merch of my illustrations is actually going to conventions. I used to always go to convention as an attendee. As of now, I always go as an artist and rarely as an attendee, so things really switched around for me. But what inspired me was going to conventions and seeing all these artists in the artist alley, which was always one of my favorite parts of going to these conventions. But I can really narrow it down to when I went to Otakuton in 2019. At this point, I was working as a graphic designer and just didn't think I would start a business. But when I went to Otakuton, it really clicked that I loved seeing what other artists created, and I really wanted to make my own creations and bring them to life in a physical product form. So after Otakuton, I really started to follow a lot of artists on Instagram to kind of gather information about what kind of stuff they do, how do they promote their merch, understand what are the merch possibilities, because I really had no idea of what we can make, how can we make merch. I was just a tiny baby artist back then. So I was really infusing my brain with all the knowledge I could find before I committed to starting in October of 2019. Also, one of the reasons I decided to start working on a business is because at my day job, I found it a little bit repetitive and not creative enough. And I thought that maybe one way to fulfill my creativity was working for myself. So in the fall of 2019, I drawn a couple designs and I decided to send one of them to a pin manufacturer in China so that I could test out the quality of that specific manufacturer before investing in more designs. So that's really how my business started. I guess we could say, even though I started in 2019 the thinking process, I really only launched officially on January 1st of 2020. That was the day I decided to launch my Kickstarter for my first collection of enamel pins. So it was Space Team enamel pins. And it was fairly popular. My campaign succeeded. I was so happy that my first project worked. It gave me a lot of inspiration and motivation. I would really recommend Kickstarter to new artists. I think it's a really good way to put your art out there and hope for the best. But also, it's not magic. You still need to work hard for it. It's a platform that a lot of people visit, so it can help you if you're just starting and don't have an audience of your own. After my first Kickstarter, I decided to try doing more after that. And my first two worked pretty well, but my following campaigns didn't work as well. So I think I only had 2 successful Kickstarter campaigns, and the rest of them I either canceled it or the funding goal wasn't reached. But I feel like when you're new, Kickstarter must push your project more than when you're like several campaigns in. I don't know if it affects my visibility, the fact that I now have a few campaigns that weren't successful. So every time I think about a big collection, I'm like, oh, maybe I should do a Kickstarter for it, but it's not working for me anymore, sadly. But I still recommend it to try because it doesn't cost anything to try. There's only fees if your campaign is successful, so I think it's a good deal. So, as I said, my official start was in 2020, and we all know what happened in 2020. So, because of that, I wasn't able to table at markets and conventions for a while, but still, online sales were at an all time high at that time. So, I was really happy with how many sales I was able to get every week. So, it was both a convenient time and an inconvenient time because no in person events, but good online sales. In October of 2020, I also decided to launch my Patreon. I wanted to add another income stream to my business. I saw a lot of my friends that were doing one, and I thought it would help me build a bigger product catalog so that when I was able to go to conventions, I would have lots of products to showcase. So the way I decided to run my Patreon, it was a sticker and print club, but it was 1 month you get 2 stickers and the other month it was a print. So it was always alternating between the two merch types. And I also add other benefits like phone backgrounds and sketchbook tours. I think I was able to sustain the club for about a year, but after that it became a bit hard to produce new art that I was proud of every month, especially because I had still my full-time job. And while I was really grateful for all the patrons that I think I had 10, which really I was so happy about it, but it wasn't giving me enough money to cover the production costs of the merch. So every month I was basically investing more and more. So because of that, I decided to discontinue my club after a year to focus my energy on my online shop and no deadlines because the new art every month was a bit hard for me. And also the sketchbook tours, I had to draw a lot for them. I think it was a bit too much for me. My energy levels aren't made for this. So Patreon was a bit too much for my plate, but I'm still really happy I tried it. If I was a full-time artist, maybe I would start one again because I would have way more time to work on it. I know that they made a lot of changes to their platform, so maybe I would host it elsewhere, like on Ko-Fi or somewhere else, because I think Patreon now has even more fees than when I was on it. My first convention was at the end of 2021. It went okay, it wasn't the best, but it was mostly because it was not really a convention actually. It was Montreal Mini Comic Con. The mini version is only like a vendor's hall with artist alley, but people had to pay a ticket for it. The fact that they had to pay, I think, mattered the most. So there wasn't a lot of people. I still made back my money, and it made me realize that I really enjoyed the experience. So I was hoping to be able to go to more conventions in the future. So ever since then, I'm trying new markets every year. This year, I'm also flying to a convention for the first time, which I never thought I would be able to do. I often look back on how my table looked back then, and it was questionable. I forgot so many things on setup day. I was working and went from work to the convention, and my boyfriend was meeting with me there. We split about half and half the luggage, so I didn't have to carry it all on myself. But I left him the most important thing about my display, so I wasn't able to build my display until he arrived. That was really dumb, but it was also my first time, so when I look back on my first table and look how it looks now, I'm so proud of the progress I made. And I'm always thinking of new ways to improve my display and make it more pretty. In 2021, I also made lots of different types of products. So in 2020, I started with enamel pins and stickers and prints. In 2021, I tried washi tapes, apparel, clay pins, and patches. So I was really happy to be able to fund lots of new products. For sure, it wasn't all my business funding it. It was because I have a day job, I have like expendable income that I can use to fund my small business. So maybe if you're just starting out and don't have a lot of money, you will probably have to go slower than me if you don't have extra money to invest on this. In 2021, I also tried YouTube for a bit actually, but I wasn't really satisfied with the camera quality that I had. So I stopped after like 3 videos, I think. But now I'm back. So for these years, my online sales really, really dropped. I'll add a graphic here so you can see how my online shop fails a bit more every year. I really know that I'm not that great at marketing and I don't post enough reels for the algorithm, but I really am doing my best. So I'm going easy on myself. Since I was able to go to conventions and market, that's really what I put my focus on anyway. And during these years, I really learned what kind of markets work for me. I tried small art markets, K-pop markets, conventions, big conventions, conventions outside of my province. I really like to try everything myself before saying I won't do it. So that's why I try a lot of different kinds. I'm at the point where I know what kind of markets work for me or not. But of course, sometimes I have surprises. Like I tried once a food festival and it was $400 for a table. And I was really scared I wouldn't be able to make my money back because of I was like, okay, it's a food festival and I'm selling not food. Why would I be able to make money back? But it turned out to be my best event ever and I'm looking forward to it every year since then. So yeah, sometimes taking risks pays off. I also made acrylic standees, desk mats, and magnets for the first time. I also tried a sticker rally for the first time at a convention. Unfortunately, where I live, there's a lot of rallies that have to be free, and these don't really work for me, so I can't ever join one because the free ones, essentially, people go to my table and don't look at it, just want the stamp and the freebies at the end, just because it's free, but they don't really care for the art. So I'm basically just dropping $50 on stickers and I don't see any profit in that. So if it was a paid rally where people have to pay $5 minimum at my booth to get a stamp for the rally, then I would be happy to try again. But most of the cons in my area are like prohibiting paid rallies, unfortunately. So during the pandemic, I fell into the K-pop rabbit hole, as a lot of people did. And during these years, I decided to create a sub account, Soul Tangerines, where I would post my K-pop fan art and K-pop merch that I draw myself. At first, I was posting it on my main account, but then I noticed that a lot of people were not interested about the K-pop because they followed me when I drew space and frogs. So even though I still posted about my main themes, it was like two different publics. So in the end, I decided to create a different account. So I have two Instagram pages. And to this day, I'm still not sure if it was the right decision because it's really hard to keep up to date with one account. So with two accounts, it's twice the content that I have to put out. So I'm not super active on Soul Tangerines, even though I'm putting out merch every so often. It's just a little bit hard to have two pages to keep up with. I do find it easier to apply to K-pop zines and markets with my separate account because then when organizers look at my page, if there's a lot of non-K-pop stuff, maybe they won't pick me, you know? So that's why I initially did it. I'm probably gonna stick with it because I'm at about 400 followers on Soul Tangerines and on my main account I'm at 1.8k. So yeah, it's a slow growth, but I'm still happy for every follower that follows me. At the end of 2023, I also decided I wanted to try YouTube again. I dusted off my GoPro camera and started filming. I still wasn't super satisfied with the quality of the camera. The image and the sound weren't too good. So in 2024, I decided to upgrade to the Osmo Pocket 3. And I really like that one. I like the screen and the quality. So yeah, I'm happy I picked it up again. I'm still very much shy about it, especially in public. But even when I'm alone, it feels weird. Hopefully one day I'm able to vlog more casually. One thing is, I'm sure you know, but English is not my first language, so that's why also it's a little bit harder for me and I'm like ashamed of my accent. So thank you if you're watching my videos, even though I have a big accent. In a lot of ways, I feel like my business hasn't grown as much as other people's in 5 years. But I know we're not supposed to compare ourselves. So I try to not make it harder on me than I should have. I'm still happy with what I achieved and all the things I tried. And even though I'm really introverted, I tried so many things outside of my comfort zone. So I'm really proud of me for that. And I really want to continue. One of my goals was to one day make it my job. I'm not sure if that's possible, especially with how the economy is going. But maybe one day I'll be able to like take less hours at my day job. So for instance, to work only 4 days instead of 5, and that would help me work more on my brand. So maybe that's something to look forward to. But in the end, I just really love making art and making merch based on my art. And the people at conventions that are looking forward to my table every year and say that it's a delight to see my table every year, honestly, you're the best. It makes me so happy and it motivates me to continue. And my main goal at the moment is to pay myself back because, as I said previously, a lot of the money I invested is my own money and not like profits from my small business that I reinvest. It's mostly personal money. But I'm hopeful that one day that's gonna happen. So I wanted to end the video with a quick Q&A. I posted on Instagram and a few of you sent me your questions for me. So the first question is, how do you manage your time with a daily job? So that's really hard. I burnt myself out a bit in previous years, working so hard every night on my business. And I still work almost every night, but not for as long as before. So at my job, I work 7.5 hours every day. And most of the time, I will work about an hour after that on my business, but sometimes it's more and sometimes it's less. And on the weekends, I often work also either on editing videos or preparing merch for the retail shops that I'm at and stuff like that. So it's also always on the back burner of my mind. So there's not a single day that I don't think about my business. It's always something that's on my mind. But yeah, I decided to cut back a little bit and give myself the time to rest more because I was feeling a bit burnt out for about 2 years. And to be honest, I'm still not feeling like back to normal. Sometimes I want to make new merch and I'm like, I know I want to make new merch, but I don't know what to draw because my mind is empty. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. It's a lot of work, but if you're able to manage your expectations of what you can achieve in a day, I think it's better for your health also. The next questions is, what type of product you didn't expect to be as popular as it is? I think I would say my patches are what surprised me the most because my patches are super silly. So every time I'm like, maybe that's too dumb and people won't like it. But I sold so many of my patches. I think I'm at like around 200 units sold for 2 of my designs. That's so much. My main products is enamel pins, and I didn't sell that much in 5 years. Some of my designs I still have in stock after 5 years, and I only ordered like 50 or 100 at most. So for my patches to sell 200 units in less years is crazy to me. I think that's my most surprising product. And the last question is by the same person. They wanted to know what kind of product you made. Did you expect to sell well but didn't? So kind of like the inverted question. And I made acrylic standees and I thought they would do okay at least, but I barely sell any. I ordered only 15 of each designs and yeah, they're not super popular, but I know standees are a type of merch that you can find in Artist Alley. A lot of people sell them. It's not as popular as stickers or keychains, but there's still a market for it. I'm guessing that since mine are original art, maybe they are not as popular because of that. And also they're quite big. So my next ones, because yes, I'm still gonna try to make new standees despite my non-existent success. yeah, I'm gonna make my next ones smaller and hope that people want to commit to them, because since mine are big, they're also more expensive. At conventions, I sell them for $40, and other people, I see them selling for $20 because they're much smaller. So maybe I'll try to do them smaller and see if there's any difference. If you want to start a small business based on your art and want a few tips, I'd say that if you want to manufacture your items, don't order more than 50 of each, and even less if you can. For example, keychains, you can often split it into a lot of designs. So in the 50, you'll have 5 designs, so 10 each. So that can be a good way to try designs without committing to a high quantity. That's one mistake that I made. At the start, I was like, oh, I'm going to order 100 enamel pins for each of the designs. But some of them I still have 5 years later. So that's a little bit too much for me, at least, to start with. At some point, maybe I'll be able to order 100 or maybe even more. But I'm still at the point where I order usually 50 of each, and that's enough to last me for a year. When I try new product types or more expensive product types, then I order less, of course, but my main quantity is usually 50. If you want to try to make it yourself with a Cricut or something similar, I don't have any advice for you because I absolutely hate machines. And I don't want to troubleshoot anything like printers or stuff like that. So that's why I decided to make the art myself, but then send it to production somewhere else so that I don't have to worry about the production. And it saves me a lot of time too, because if I had to produce everything myself, first of all, I wouldn't be able to do it all myself because some of these things I can't, like enamel pins or keychains, I wouldn't really be able to produce them. But the fact that I'm sending it over for production gives me more time to work on new art for me. My second tip would be to work hard, but make sure that you're also working in a healthy manner. Take care of yourself while working and don't overwork yourself. And my final advice is don't give up if you're passionate about it and if you financially can continue. I think it's really fulfilling to work on your small business. So don't give up even if the numbers don't reach your expectations. I know I don't reach my expectations very often, but I'm still continuing because I hope that one day I will reach them. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my little 5-year recap of my business. I hope you learned a little bit more about me, and I hope you found it interesting. If you want to see more about my daily life, you can watch my monthly vlogs that I post every month. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time. Bye-bye.